Hello and welcome to Prairie Pulse. I'm John Harris. Coming up later in the show, we'll visit the Becker County Museum in Detroit Lakes. But first, Matt O'Lean interviews author Michelle Bredesen.
I'm Matt O'Lean. Welcome to Prairie Pulse. My guest today is Langdon, North Dakota author Michelle Bredesen. Michelle, welcome to Prairie Pulse.
Thank you for having me.
Michelle is the author of the Bloodline series. Legacy and Legends were the first two books, and some wonderful books. I've been reading through them, and thank you for being on Pulse. First of all, tell folks about your background, where you're from originally, how you got to Langdon, how you became a writer.
Okay. Well, I grew up in the town of Mitchell, South Dakota, home of the world's only corn palace. I grew up in a house with my mom and my dad, and they separated and then divorced when I was about 14, 15 years old. So writing was kind of my way of dealing with the divorce, taking myself into another world that I had control of. And it kind of started out that way, and then I continued to write through junior high and high school. Took a little break during college because I was trying to actually graduate college, which thankfully I did. And then a couple years after I graduated, I realized I wanted to be really serious, and I've been writing probably 20 to 40 hours a week, every week for the past 7 or 8 years. And I've just always enjoyed writing. I consider myself a novelist more than a short story writer. If I'm gonna write something, it's gonna be a novel. It's gonna be a pretty substantial piece, so.
And how'd you end up in Langdon? I know you lived in the cities for a while.
Yes, we lived in my husband and I lived in the Twin Cities for several years. He grew up in Fairdale, North Dakota, which is about a half hour from Langdon. And we moved back there so he could farm with his father. So we moved from a very considerable metro area to a town of about 2,000 people, which I miss the conveniences of the city, but the isolation is really great for writing. There aren't many distractions there.
Right. Talk about how I think you wrote in your blog that I looked at is writing is something you have to do.
Yes.
It's not something that it's not really your job, it's you have to do it. Tell us about that.
Yeah, writing for me is very much a passion. It's something I am very passionate about, and I guess when I start writing, it almost feels like I have this story inside of me bubbling up that has to come out in some way. So eventually when I sit down with my computer and start writing, things just kind of spill out of me. And I would say that's something that's learned. It's from years and years of writing to the point where I always have a story in my head. I always have something to write. If I go too long without writing, I don't feel like myself. I feel to be Michelle Bredesen, I have to be writing something.
Did you learn that in college? Did you take writing classes in college, or is this all pretty much self-taught?
This is all pretty much self-taught. My degree is actually in theology, okay, which doesn't relate to writing very much, but you know, being a writer obviously helped writing college papers. But I've always been interested in fiction writing. The genre of my books is young adult fantasy. I've always really liked fantasy stories, and you can see here the character Carly turns into, or shapeshifts, as I call it, into a white fox. So I always have been fascinated by magical things and things that don't fit into our realm of possibilities, but could fit into some realm of possibilities.
And why do you think that is? Why do you think kids are so fascinated? My son he's 11, even our 4-year-old daughter, the fantasy aspect, and how did that kind of hit you? You talked about your parents' divorce.
Yeah.
But why do you think that is?
I think as a teenager, it's very easy to feel out of control. Even if you grow up in a great home and you have wonderful parents and your family has money and everything's provided, there's still this angst that you experience as a teenager. And just having control over something, knowing that something can go right. Harry Potter is a great example. It's a kid from a terrible home and living with this aunt and uncle, and he just really needs an escape, and he gets that. And I think there's something about knowing that somebody might get out and might find a better situation through these magical things that shouldn't happen. I think there's something about that, and seeing a world that you never thought could exist that is so fascinating, especially to someone who may feel out of control or may not feel, you know, like they fit in with the other kids. A book can bring you into a world where you're so overwhelmed by the story that you just kind of melt into it and it becomes a part of you. And I know, especially as a teenager, I read all the time. Like, I would put down one book and pick up another. And I think a lot of kids do that because they love living in the story. You finish a book, there's always another book you can read. and that's the way I was as a teenager. So I guess that's my point of view on it.
Yeah, we're lucky our 11-year-old is like that too. He just finished the Hunger Games trilogy, so
Oh,
finally let him read it. So.
I read those last year, and they are wonderful. If you haven't read them, I would recommend reading them.
How do you get published then? Tell me about getting published, how that started, and how you were able to do that.
Okay, like I said earlier, I typically write novels. I have written several short stories. My short stories tend to be horror stories, not necessarily for kids, just adult horror stories. And I use the website Duotrope Digest, and it's a wonderful listing. You can type in what kind of genre you wrote, how many words it is, which is great for short stories. Some people want 5,000 words, some people want 3,000. Found a publisher, sent a short story in. It was published in the publishing house's very first anthology. And at that time, you know, I had several novels. I wasn't too serious about submitting anything. But from that story, I got a lot of feedback, lots of emails saying, this is really great, I like what you did, is there anything else you have that I can read? And I went on to have a few more short stories read, and then I got an email from a guy I'm friends with now on Facebook in the UK, and I don't know, it must have been just the right day. It was very encouraging. He said he really liked the story. And I just said to myself, you know what, it's now or never, I'm gonna do it. I submitted my novel to the same publishing house that had accepted my short stories. And within a week, I was accepted for publication, which is incredibly rare. I know how lucky I was. I think it was the right place at the right time. But
It was at the first Bloodline book?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. Mhm.
Okay. How did you come up with the idea for the Bloodline series?
My husband and I were actually on vacation where the story is set on the North Shore of Lake Superior, at a wonderful little resort with condos, and we're sitting in our room and there's a fire going, and I'm looking out at the shore and it's just waves crashing on the rock, and the whole place is surrounded by trees too, and I thought something magical could happen here. This is an environment where if something was weird or a little off, it could go unnoticed in this setting. And we were actually on vacation in October, and November is considered National Novel Writing Month, and I participated in it for several years. So I took, just looking out the window at the water, I took that and turned it into a story. And honestly, when I wrote it, I didn't think anyone would ever read it. I didn't think it would go anywhere. And I just wrote my heart out for 3 weeks, had the rough draft of the manuscript finished. And then it was, I think, 6 months later, you know, after many, many revisions going back, I'm pretty obsessed about revising my work. I finally sent it in.
Does someone help you with that? Do you have an editor?
At that time,
Okay,
no.
okay.
Now I have someone, you know, now that it's like, okay, the next book will be published. Now I work at the newspaper in Langdon, so our proofreader for the newspaper, I've been having her read my manuscripts. So that's been wonderful because she is very good at catching like grammar or if a sentence doesn't quite sound right. But up until then, I was doing it all myself, which can be very taxing to when in the rough draft of the process, you're going and you're just writing whatever comes to mind, and then to have to editorialize yourself, to go back and say, okay, this might to you be the most significant sentence in the world, but is it necessary? Or is this scene necessary? So it's kind of taking an entirely different perspective, and being really hard on myself too.
Yeah. So what are the books about? Carly Morneau, she is your heroine, correct?
Correct,
Tell us
yes.
about her, what the books are about, the other characters.
Okay. Carly, my main character, is 15 years old. Her mother has just passed away in what she believes is an accident. And her father moves her from the Twin Cities to the town of Sterling, Minnesota, a very small town on the shore, not a lot going on there. They don't have conveniences like I would like a Starbucks or anything. You know, it's a pretty small town, which is, I'm really living in that now.
Right.
So living in Langdon, I can relate to Carly a lot more than I could living in the city. And she's moved there. She is a pretty confident girl. Most teenagers probably aren't as confident as Carly is, and I just happen to write her that way. Not all of my female characters are that way, but she's pretty self-assured and moves to this new town, and she it's not like she was looking to make friends. She's just befriended by this group of people. They're all very good looking, they're popular, people want to be like them. And I think any teenager, if you were welcomed by the popular kids, you would say, okay, this is great, let's be friends. The first character she meets is the main male character, Gabriel. And she is attracted to him not in a sense that she wants to be his girlfriend, because she really isn't looking for a romantic relationship right away. But they have a lot in common, so she likes hanging out with him. And then he begins to introduce her to the rest of their group or whatever of these very few teenagers. And she starts to notice as she's hanging out with them that strange things happen, like their eyes glow in the dark and they're hungry all the time, even hungrier than a normal teenage boy would be. And there's just little cues, and she's very observant. And I would say that's when I'm very similar to Carly in that way, is I notice things that other people might not notice. And it all kind of adds up. And finally, she confronts her friend Gabriel and says, what is going on? I know something's happening. I know you're lying to me. I want to know the truth, or we're not friends anymore. And at that point, when this happens, I just did a reading yesterday and read this scene, so it's very fresh in my mind. When this happens, he takes her home to her father, and you find out her father has known her entire life that she's what I call a shapeshifter. Mm-hmm. She can turn from a human form into an animal form, and her parents just never told her because they were trying to protect her, but now her mother's gone. She's trying to deal with her mother's death and moving to a new town, and then she receives this overwhelming news that, oh, by the way, you can supernaturally change into animals. So it's kind of, I think for a lot of kids especially, it's like if you've moved to a new school, which I did when I was in the 10th grade, or if you've,
which is hard,
or if you've been in any situation where you're out of place, then you could really relate to what Carly's going through. And then she finds out that she is a shapeshifter, but it's not till the end of the book that she actually shapeshifts for the first time. So the first novel is really kind of her discovering this and her journey, and the apprehension of what will happen when this happens to me, knowing that it's going to happen but it hasn't, can be a really scary thing too.
And then the second book is more like adventures,
where
investigations and things, right?
Yeah, and I developed the other characters in the book a lot more. They play a larger role. Their kind of personal lives start to come out. And then you also start to discover things that had happened to Carly's parents and like the generation before, and how they handled being shapeshifters and kind of what they did in their lives and decisions that they made.
And which book are you on now? Are you going to continue
with
the series? Okay.
Yes, there are 5 books total. They're
okay.
all written. My publisher has the 3rd book. She's reviewing it. It will be published, and my publishing house will publish all 5 of them. And the story does have, like in the 5th book, everything wraps up really well. By that time, I was really exhausted as a writer and ready for it to end. Right. Someone asked me yesterday if the story would ever continue, and I've talked to my husband about this several times. If the story continues, it will go on to the next generation. It will be Carly's daughter, and obviously very different, because if I was Carly, especially having not known what I was, she'll raise her child to like have an understanding of this is what you are. So it would be a very different type of book. But with every new book, I like to do something different. So I kind of like the challenge of figuring out where a different story could go.
Right. So what's been the reaction to the books? Do you have kind of a following out there?
Yeah,
of readers,
I kind of
and
do.
You go and do readings and meet people?
Yeah, I've been doing readings closer to where I live in Langdon and Grafton. I've actually been to the Grand Forks Public Library several times and have been very well received. And I've had like the same kids come up to me and say, I saw you here and I saw you here and I love your books. And that's something that I didn't realize how nice it would be until I heard it for the first time from a young girl, and that's who I wrote the books for. So it's really nice to know that young girls that I remember being that age are enjoying the story.
And are you able to, your husband farms, but I mean, does it provide a fairly decent income without divulging too many details? I mean, how has it been that way?
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
And I also work full-time at the local newspaper. I'm the graphic designer there, but I only work 4 days a week. And And my boss is very flexible about, I told her in November, I'm like, if I get all my work done, do you care if I write? And she's like, no, that's fine. So I have a very great life as far as finding time to write. And my husband is incredibly supportive, especially during November when he knows I'm writing. He'll come home and cook supper for me. So that's really great to be with someone who understands how much I love writing and how important it is to me.
You mentioned earlier participate in the National Writing Month,
Yes.
which is November. Tell us about that.
It's I believe a nonprofit organization, and the goal for them is to just get people writing. And you start November 1st, you start a novel from scratch. So it's not like I can pick up something I've got 30 pages on. I have to completely start over. And the goal is to write 50,000 words, which is a very short novel. To give you some perspective, this in print I think is 213 pages, and this is about 65,000 words. So it's something that would be shorter than this. And the goal is, not to create perfect work, but just to get words on paper. And there's a lot of people out there who have always dreamt of writing a novel, didn't think they could do it, who participate in this. And the great thing about it is, you've got people all over the country and all over the world also attempting the same thing. So, if you're in week 1 and you're not feeling inspired, you can take comfort in the fact that other people are doing this too. And it's just a great way to get people writing who may not have necessarily been writing but have always wanted to.
What else are you working on?
The novel I just wrote in November is called Sleep to Dream.
Okay.
And I typically write, if I'm writing young adult, I'm writing some kind of supernatural theme. I also write, I guess, what would be called genre fiction, just not for teenagers, something completely different, doesn't involve anything supernatural, because I need a break from this after a while. But the novel I happened to write in November was supernaturally themed, and the main character in that has sleep paralysis, which is a condition where you go into this weird state when you're either waking up or falling asleep, where you're fully aware of everything around you, but you can't move or talk or do anything. You're kind of just frozen. And to me, that seemed like a really scary kind of thing. And I was like, wow, I have to write a novel about this. So the novel is about this girl who experiences the sleep paralysis and meets a boy who kind of experiences the same thing. So they think it means they're destined for each other, that they both have the same condition. What they come to find out is, for whatever reason, they shouldn't be friends, they shouldn't be dating. For some reason, their relationship is volatile, like them being together. So it's these two teenagers who fall madly in love with each other and then realize like they can't be together, which was like I said, I like to write different things. So that was interesting for me to create an approach to how could I really convince two like 18-year-old kids not to be together? Like what would have to happen for that, for it to get through to them. So that was kind of an interesting process, coming up with the conflicts and the drama and everything to write for that.
You talk on your blog about how you get ideas sometimes through dreams or quiet time at the house. Tell me about that.
Lots of times if I have like just something weird happen in a dream, and it might not even be something that would be supernatural, I turn it into a book. Sometimes I just see a name that I like. And that happened to me, and I don't even remember what the name was, but it was a male name, and I was like, this is so cool. And just from that, I can sit down and write. And I think part of it is I write so much that my mind kind of thinks in stories, and thinks of conflicts that could arise and then ways to combat them. So I would say I'm definitely like daydreaming in my head all the time. So it might be something just that you wouldn't think anything of. And I'm like, wow, that could be something really cool that I could write about.
What's your advice for young writers?
My advice for young writers is to write. And the main reason is because if this is something you're serious about, you need to be doing it all the time. The best way to develop a habit is to do it every day. So I do tell people, if you're interested in writing, you need to write every day. Some authors who are very famous and well-known, some of them do write every day, and some of them don't. I'm usually either writing or editing something almost every day. Sometimes I take a break from it, but I also know that even if, I have a week vacation, it's easy for me to get back in the habit of it. It might not be so easy for someone who doesn't do it all the time. And that could be, keeping a blog or just a diary to yourself, whether you're writing like fan fiction or anything that just kind of gets your mind in the story mode, where you're thinking, like I said, in kind of a story. And
Right. Got about 20 seconds left.
Okay.
If people want your books, to find them, order them, where can they go?
they can go to Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com.
Okay, very easily. And you have a
Yes.
blog too, right?
Yes, MichelleBredesen.com. That's MichelleBredesen. I talk a lot about writing on there, so I recommend that for
Okay.
tips.
Thanks, Michelle, for
Yes.
being on Prairie Pulse.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for more.
When in Detroit Lakes, a nice place to learn about the history of Becker County can be found at the Becker County Museum, operated by the Becker County Historical Society. The many lakes in that area have been a huge part of the growth and history of Detroit Lakes area. Here's a tour.
The Becker County Historical Society was founded in 1882 as the Pioneer Settlers Union, so we have a really long history here in the county. The Settlers Union was a group of people. You had to be able to prove that you had settled in Becker County prior to 1872. The county was open for settlement in 1868, and so those very early settlers started to gather their stories, which is pretty amazing really for that early in the history of our area. And so we have all of these written histories and stories of those original settlers, including people who were the first in each township. So they gathered those stories, and they also started to gather artifacts. They actually held their collection in the library, and that group eventually became the Becker County Historical Society in 1943 and opened their first museum in the basement of the Becker County Courthouse. Our collection ranges from objects starting in 1812 and going all the way through about 1980 right now, and we're moving forward past that. The strengths of our collection really are the Native American objects that you can come and see, both Dakota, Lakota, and Ojibwa. And then we also do have some original pioneer settlers' cabin that has been moved a few times and has wound up here inside the museum. We also have the world's smallest gas station in the basement, which is always a fan favorite for people to come and visit. And the big folk hero of our museum, I guess, is Old Three Legs, which is a wolf that the kids love to come and see. Detroit was a natural place for settlement because of the waterways here. We have two big lakes, we have the Pelican River all kind of converging in one spot. It also was one of the first towns that the railroad hit as it came through. So as a result of that, it became a really thriving area as well. And by 1881-82, so about 10 years later, a fellow named John K. West was really interested in promoting the tourist aspect of the lake. He built the Minnesota Hotel, and it's really a luxurious Victorian building, brightly painted. He guaranteed also that you could get from train to hotel to lake in 1 hour or less, which at that time was quite a big deal. He also developed the Pelican River Navigation Company, which was a series of canals, locks, and dams that went from Lake Detroit to Lake Sally and Melissa. So you could literally go from the train station in Detroit Lakes to your cabin at Lake Melissa in about an hour's time, which was pretty phenomenal given the time period that we're talking about. There was also a huge draw because of the ice that came from the lakes.
Ice harvest began in 1887. It lasted until about 1970. That's when Northern Pacific had ice making equipment, so they could make ice on site. But it was an important part of the development of this area because it provided jobs for people during the winter. It was a miserably cold work to be out there on the ice, working in below zero conditions. But up to 110 people would be employed by the Addison Miller Company, harvesting ice for the railroad. And this ice was loaded into boxcars. They would ship up to 4,000 boxcars a winter from Detroit Lakes west. And it provided work for about 6 to 8 weeks, depending on weather conditions and how much ice was needed.
It's really a beautiful place to live, lots of wonderful scenery. You can drive and see everything from a really dense woodland that was once clear cut for timber and is now grown back all the way over to a really wide open prairie in the very edges of Lake Agassiz. So it's a beautiful natural environment, I think, and along with that has a really interesting natural history. So animals that live here that don't or aren't able to live other places because of that. We have been really a wonderful beneficiary of legacy funding here at the museum. We have traveling exhibits both from the Minnesota Historical Society and the Minnesota Children's Museum. We had a traveling exhibit last fall from the National Museum of the American Indian, part of the Smithsonian, and that is all because of the fact that we have been able to access those legacy funds, which really has enhanced our ability to tell the story of our history here in Becker County. Two men who were in charge of the museum went and looked at this 40 by 80 foot space and measured it and said, oh my goodness, how will we ever fill it up? And now we have about 15,000 square feet of collections and artifacts in our current location. And we house about 20,000 artifacts and 14,000 photographs, along with a full research library and all kinds of interesting things that people can come and see. We are open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 4 during the summer months, and then winter from November through March 31st. We're open on Tuesday through Friday from 10 to 4, and we are hours free.
Well, that's all we have on Prairie Pulse for this week, and as always, thanks for watching.
Funded in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008, and by the members of Prairie Public.